Welcome back. Tonight we turn our attention to Namibia's economic transformation and the opportunities emerging from the global energy transition. The National Planning Commission, in partnership with the United Nations Trade and Development, is launching a new report titled Rapid Assessment for Value Addition and Diversification to Support Namibia. It's aimed at identifying pathways to strengthen economic resilience, create jobs, and move beyond raw commodity exports. Now, joining us telephonically to unpack the key findings and what they mean for the country is the Director General of the National Planning Commission, Dr. Kaire Mbuende. Dr. Mbuende, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us here on the Daily Roundup.
Good evening, and a pleasure to be on the line.
Dr. Mbuende, to start with, what are the main objectives of this report and why is it important right now for Namibia?
Well, I think the main objective of the report is to identify opportunity for Namibia to transition from exporting predominantly raw material to producing higher value-added products and diversifying its industrial base. This is something that, of course, we have been aware of as a government, and the diversification of our economy is one of the objectives that we set ourselves. But what the report does is to go into details in terms of outlining the constraints to achieving that objective, but also suggesting how some of those constraints can be overcome.
Tell us a little bit about, the opportunities and the challenges that the report identifies in the critical energy transition mineral sector.
Well, the opportunity is the one that we have always been aware of, which is the natural endowment by having the critical minerals. And therefore, the question now is, how do we develop those and add value and export? So, and they have really identified opportunities both in terms of the resources, and then what is required to make use of the resources in terms of investment, but also they have also been able to identify that could be accessed or for which there is a demand for these resources, both internationally as well as regionally.
And what were the key highlights or findings with the report, Dr. Mbuende?
I think the key highlight has been is more the opportunities and the need to shift from exporting raw materials or raw minerals towards higher value-added and broader industrial diversification, particularly leveraging critical energy transition minerals as entry point to structural transformation. Then, of course, it's making some policy recommendations and also identify challenges such as access to technology, and human resources, and so forth. And these are, and the report is outlining some pathways to overcome some of those challenges and constraints.
On the matter of policies that you raised there, are there any specific policy or regulatory changes that this report, highlights as necessary to enhance the value addition and diversification of Namibia's mineral sector?
Yes, I think the report is highly technical and look at technical skills, the issue of limited research and innovation capacity. But I think, in my view, it did not go far enough in terms of the cost of non-diversification. And I think that is the issue that we have dealt with. but also what is it that will compel investors and multinationals to actually go on this path of diversification? Because we have been talking about diversification for so many years, and it did not happen. Now, the opportunity is that, first of all, I think we have to recalibrate in terms of continuing on the same trajectory with the hitherto known mineral resources. With these new critical minerals, we should start on a new page and set different terms than what has been the case, because we inherited a structure and contracts, and we have an opportunity now to negotiate contracts and set and lay down the terms for engagement. In my view, I think it is important that it must cost not to diversify. There has to be a price to not diversifying, whether it's in the form of duties or taxes on export of raw materials. And then there must be benefits for diversifying by getting all sort of financial support, including tax concessions, so that we'll go on that, because the benefits will outweigh your investment, let's say, or your incentives. And therefore, and of course, the jobs that will be created are quite substantial if we go on that path.
In terms of job creation and local content, Dr. Mbuende, as well as, of course, economic growth, what impact can Namibians then expect from the findings and recommendations of this report?
Well, I think the report is saying if we follow the pathway and the recommendations they are making, we should be able to create, I think, 26,000 jobs. And that is quite substantial. But in addition to that, then there should be some other benefits in terms of local content, producing inputs into some of these industries. So it will result in not only the particular mineral sector, but other supportive industry and services will also benefit in addition to the revenue and the jobs that will be created.
Talk to us a little bit about, how stakeholders were involved in preparing this report. This is now communities, perhaps international partners, etc., and what role they'll play going forward.
Well, this was a highly consultative process where various stakeholders within Namibia, both public and private, were consulted to provide information about the state of play. And then international stakeholders were also consulted, who provided information about markets and technology and so forth. So it was a highly consultative process, and there were input from different people, from specialists in various fields to different kind of people, including ordinary citizens.
Well, following the launch, what are the immediate next steps that we can anticipate, and also how does government plan to ensure that the report's recommendations translate into tangible outcomes for Namibia?
Well, I think this report is timely because we have taken a policy position to diversify our economy. And it has been more moral pronouncement than actual action. And therefore, the report provides some ideas in terms of what we can do immediately, and also what we ourselves have been thinking. So it will be a combination of the results or the finding of the reports, in addition to our own reflections that we have been busy with. So immediately we have to set up a framework for looking critically at the issue of value addition, especially in critical minerals. And then also once that framework has been developed, it will be a question of monitoring it carefully so that it's not just, it's not that just we have adopted a policy and a strategy which is not being implemented. Yeah. There should be a mechanism for implementation and for monitoring implementation.
Well, Dr. Kaire Mbuende, we appreciate your time this evening and thank you so much for joining us here on the Daily Roundup.
Thank you very much.
When we come back after this brief break, we bring you one more conversation. Stay tuned. You're watching the Daily Roundup with Nina on NBC1.